in the squadron. They called him Bullets, but we call him Greg Kelly. Greg Kelly is on the air
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Well, any minute now, any second now, we may have an audio tape recording of Joe Biden committing a federal crime. Now, actually, I can think of some recordings that actually are out there right now where he may have committed a crime. Like when he said, we're going to demonstrate to President Trump by any means necessary that he will not be president again. Remember that? Anybody remember that? He said it out loud in November of 2022. He didn't say we're going to beat him at the ballot box. He said we are going to just demonstrate to him that he will not be president by using constitutional means to ensure that he does not take power. It really was something else. So that was code for we're going to convict him. Now, the irony is, and the more I think about it, that wasn't actually a violation of the law, because the president of the United States, under the Constitution, it says right in there that it's his job to make sure that the laws are informed, all right, that the laws are enforced. And, whether or not Donald Trump is a political enemy of Joe Biden, it doesn't really make a difference. It doesn't put you in a special category. We heard this from John Ashcroft. They're always like, well, Donald Trump was trying to find dirt on his enemies. And, well, just because you're an enemy doesn't mean you can't do certain things. That's a term of art. That's a media term. That doesn't mean anything to a court, really. So it's interesting in that one of the problems I have, he's allowed to do, in a way, what he did. Hey, I want you to look into President Trump. Just like President Trump is allowed to say to anybody who wants, I want you to look into Joe Biden. I believe there's evidence here that shows he broke a law. Joe Biden tried to lie and say he wasn't doing that. Donald Trump has been pretty upfront about that he's doing that. The establishment is fake shocked, right? Because they've worked themselves up into a lather that somehow the DOJ must be totally independent. The people's lawyer. The people's lawyer? Where the hell does it say that? The people's lawyer sounds like something from communism. Hey, speaking of which, communism, have you heard? 2 Democrats have stepped forward to denounce communism. Two. And they did it, well, one did it, I believe, on the merits. And who was that? A guy named Fetterman. Fetterman from Pennsylvania. John Fetterman. It's funny how that all turned out. I wanted Dr. Oz so bad, and I think he would have made a great senator, and he's down there running Medicare, Medicaid, and doing an amazing job. But he lost to Fetterman, and I thought Fetterman was going to be a total wacko. Part of it is look at the way he dresses. And, it's interesting, he dresses kind of like everybody in America. I noticed this the other day, and even myself, when if I'm not at work, maybe I should step it up, but I look like a bit of a bum. All of us do. Well, the ladies, they still take care. But, grown men wearing shorts? No grown man should be wearing shorts. I should not be wearing shorts. Right? Bart Simpson wears shorts. A grown man doesn't wear short pants. What else? We and the shirt untucked, cargo shorts. I noticed this the other day. I noticed 2 things. I noticed a guy getting arrested for serial killing. He looked like a normal guy. He was dressed like everybody else, but yeah, he killed somebody. I also noticed, oh gosh, speaking of killers, maybe I should get a wider pool, but the father of the alleged shooter of Charlie Kirk has got to be in a tough spot, right? And he turned his son in. He's going to work, and he looks like, he dresses like he's in 8th grade. And a lot of men do that, including myself. I think I should dress up more. Who's the guy who said we should do that on airplanes? Oh, yeah, him. What was his name again? Duffy, Sean Duffy. I didn't like it. I didn't like hearing it from him because he's so damned spiffy. Anybody who is that spiffy ain't working hard enough or is a little bit, there are people who are retired and that's great, but he's working full time and he looks like that. He looks like a male model. And the other thing about that is he's either not working hard enough or just a little bit, what's the word? Narcissistic. right? A little bit too into himself. And boy, oh boy, we're into ourselves. Oh, something else. This is a place where you can resent people. Resentment is so fostered. Half of the internet content is somebody calling out somebody about what they said. I'm going to call out Sonny Hostin. Now, first things first, who the hell is Sonny Hostin? Oh, one of the attitudinal one from The View? If I hear one more thing about that View, for crying out loud, The View, as if it matters. You know what matters? When you hear things like this, all right, when you hear crap lines like this, cut 4 if you don't mind, cut 4 again and again and again.
There was no deleting or changing of votes, and this was the most secure election in American history.
I think it is safe to say this is the most secure election we've ever held in the United States.
The nation's top federal election infrastructure agency says this year's election was, quote, the most secure in history.
Despite all of the concerns leading up to the election, this was ultimately determined to be our most secure election ever.
No. COVID. They took advantage of the rules. It was not the most secure, but that became like, And if you deviate from that, even today, you might find yourself in a little bit of hot water. Hot water. Why would we get pressure? What's the problem? And then I believe in this, don't you? And why are they fighting so hard about the SAVE Act? This is that great speech from President Trump last Thursday night. Cut 1.
Every American deserves to know that when they cast their vote, that vote will be counted accurately in a system, and that is to make that system secure, one where cheating and interference are not just difficult, but virtually impossible. Unfortunately, the system we have today falls catastrophically short of that standard.
So this is one of the reasons why I probably will run for mayor. I don't think the system, I mean, really, think about it. If you had a chance, let's pretend for a moment that I have a chance to be mayor of New York City. I have a fair amount of name recognition in New York. I'd have to work my ass off. And of course, I lean a certain way politically. That probably wouldn't be too popular in vast portions of the city, but it would be very popular in other vast portions of the city. I would run if I believed if there was a fair election. If there was a fair election with an up or down vote in November of, what year would that be? 2029? 2029? I would go for it. I believe I could out-hustle, outwork, and outdo with my ideas Zoran Mamdani. All right? And especially, with what this guy has done, what he has said out loud, he won't take care of the business of New York, but he will dabble in all this other crap. Netanyahu, he wants to put him in handcuffs. ICE, he wants to disband. And worse, I believe that this man has invited terrorists to go to the federal building in New York City. Remember the Murrah building in Oklahoma that was bombed in 1995? Back then, Timothy McVeigh and whoever the hell he was with, Nichols, was that his name? These guys were so far out there, and they'd worked themselves up into a frenzy, how much they hated the government. But you kind of had to do that on your own. You had to go off and, join a club in the woods, find kooky literature to, get you all fired up and weird. Now, the mayor of the city of New York will come out and lie about ICE, Immigration's Customs Enforcement, and tell you where to find him, and tell you a fake, quote-unquote, nightmare story from his childhood. This is Zoran Mamdani, arguably the biggest speech of his life, getting sworn in as mayor of New York City January 1st of this year. Cut 9.
Sat claustrophobic on a stalled N train just after Atlantic Avenue and waited in quiet terror for my father to emerge from 26 Federal Plaza. The city where I took a beautiful woman named Rama.
Did you hear that first part? You hear that first part, 26 Federal Plaza? He had to sit in terror while his dad was inside getting his passport renewed. Give me a break. Everywhere this guy goes, I looked at, he was at a protest outside of 26 Federal Plaza in February. He spoke about it at a breakfast on August 7th. He spoke about it in, very dark terms, like it's some sort of hellhole, in a debate from October of 2016. And just the other day, before a terrorist actually, may have taken him up on his rhetoric and dropped by 26 Federal Plaza to try to burn the place to the ground, he was on a live stream, and they were just kind of shooting the breeze about how awful ICE is in 26 Federal Plaza. I think there should be some accountability here, right? You can't denigrate your own government like this guy denigrates his own government, although times have changed, huh? Times really have changed. Cut 10, please. Cut 10.
What was that day like?
Went into the USCIS building,
26
Federal Plaza, and we had a 3, 4, 5-inch binder with photos and all my well-documented asylum process, and the interview was going okay. And then the bomb drops, and she said, "You missed a hearing, and you've been ordered a final order of removal."
You're in that meeting?
Yes.
You're there with your husband?
Yes.
And that's where you're told that there's going to be immediate removal proceedings?
Yes.
What happens right after the meeting?
Matthew and I both started crying. He took my bag and then my phone and everything, and they handcuffed me. They asked my name, and I didn't even see the piece of paper. I just didn't, and Matthew went down the hall crying, and they took me into an elevator, and that was the last time I saw Matthew for that 5 months.
Where did they take you after that?
They took me to Delaney Hall. I was there for several weeks.
And then, where did you go?
I was carted off to Arizona. From Arizona, I went to Texas. Texas, we stopped in Alligator Alcatraz. And I was there for about 2 weeks.
And, I would imagine if I were in France illegally and I overstayed my permission, I might go from a facility in, I don't know, what are the cities in France? Paris, Marseille, Dijon, Brittany. Anybody think of other French cities? Bayonne, down there on the coast. And what's the problem? But you saw there that he filled in the gap for him. 26 Federal Plaza. That's where you were abused. That's where you were harmed. When Bruce Blakeman called to Canada for governor, we had the brilliant technologist and kind of philosopher David Sachs on. I think he works he's like a special, what do they call it? Special employee of the White House. Special designate. Like, basically it means you work full time but for no money. And you can kind of come and go as you please. He's ripping on Kathy Hochul and her opposition to data centers. Like most politicians, she has no idea what she's talking about. You'll hear from Kathy Hochul and then David Sachs, a guy I'd love to shake this guy's hand someday. Cut 11.
That is why today I'll be signing the nation's first ever statewide moratorium on hyperscale data centers.
Everything she's saying there is a false accusation on the data center. So let's just go one by one. So she's saying that they eat up all of the power. Well, yeah, look, if you connect to the grid without producing more power and you force data centers to compete with residential ratepayers, then yeah, you could drive up utility prices. However, if you do what Chamath said and let them build behind the meter, then they bring their own power. And that's what the president has advocated for since the beginning of his administration, is let the AI companies become power companies. So that is the way to solve the energy problem or the utility problem. Then she's talking about eating up land. The reality is these data centers are a model of land use efficiency. We have a ton of land in this country, obviously. The supposed noise pollution, that's largely made up. That can be dealt with. You obviously don't want to put these things right next to a residential area, but create a little bit of distance and it's fine. The whole water consumption thing is largely a hoax.
Total hoax.
Modern data centers recirculate the water. One final thing just on the point that Hochul is making. She said it created a lot of pollution. Natural gas, which is how most of these data centers are powered, is one of the most clean burning sources of power that we have. These data centers have become the scapegoat for all of the angst that people have about AI. When you compare economic impact to all these different things, data centers are, like, honestly, one of the best things we could be building as a nation.
One of the best things we could be building as a nation. And the Democrats are fighting it like crazy, huh? Good old Democrats. 800-848-9222. 800-848-9222.
Greg Kelly
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Everything continuing to go very smoothly. It has been 2 hours, 55 minutes, 41 seconds since launch. And from the launch pad at Baikonur, the Soyuz is in the home stretch.
Yeah, so a Soyuz Russian spacecraft is docking with
contact.
There you go, International Space Station. The thing that shocked me, this happened today, this happened this morning. A rocket launched by Russia, no big deal. Soyuz, I've heard of those things before. What's fascinating to me is this Soyuz thing looks like it's made 100 years ago. It looks like one of those old-timey submarines or something. It is, what a hunk of junk. The spam in a can. It looks like just a huge, like a block of crude iron with a Russian flag on the side. Yikes. Yikes. Now you look at, that's, I mean, they're not communist anymore, but that's kind of that's what 100 years of communism will do for you and your innovation. They're using the same old stupid rockets. I mean, couldn't they even give it a paint job? The ones from America look so much sleeker and nicer. Elon Musk and even our spacesuits kick ass. It's so great that we don't have to hitch a ride with those guys anymore. We have our own nice rockets, and pretty soon we're going to take one of those rockets to the moon and then to Mars. And Russia, if you stay on our good side, we just might take you along. Sometimes you listen to the fake news. They want you to believe that everything about America is backwards and falling. Not to say there aren't a lot of things about America that are backwards and falling right now. When we come back, Patrick from Indiana, who I think I just might owe a great big fat apology to. He has come up with the ideal solution for Mamdani. We have to explore deportation. We're going to hear him out. He was onto something before I knew it.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
Hey, here's an item. You've seen those Nick Shirley videos all over the place. Nick Shirley defining, kind of creating the new version of what journalism is probably going to look like across the board in maybe 2 months or maybe 2 years or 20 years. It's pretty amazing what he has uncovered by himself, essentially. He went out to California, uncovered all kinds of crazy, over-the-top, multi-million-dollar fraud everywhere he went. And it's incredible. Now, real action is taking place. So look at this. Dr. Oz and Robert F. Kennedy, two of my favorite people, are stopping $1 billion in federal Medicaid payments to California and Minnesota starting right now. Now, it's not like they're never going to get the money, but you guys have got to show that you can handle this money and not give it out to Ilhan Omar and her brother. It's kind of like, hello. So fantastic that I love this. This is real action. This is, and it has to be done. I just love it. I love it. No more talking about things forever. Things, nobody ever seemed to do anything. Nobody ever seemed to do anything. And now something is happening. All right. Now, if you don't mind, I'm going to actually turn this around. Something else about RFK Jr. I just got used to his voice. I must say, I knew that guy. I first met that guy in like 2002 or something like that. And I would see him over the years. He'd come on the Good Day Show. I interviewed him, and I couldn't listen to a thing he was saying because the voice was just so distracting for me. And I don't think we really knew what the problem was. He wasn't, it's like a muscular thing. It's not, I didn't know what the hell was going on with him. And there was something about him. I'm like, oh gosh, I don't know, man. Hope he, anyway, I guess I got used to it. And then he started saying things that I agreed with. That's probably the bulk of it. You know, he used to be really passionate about the environment. And the environment's great, you know, but I just can't get into it like he got into it with the solar and the this and the, you know, parts per billion. And I will say this, though, the Hudson River is clean. I went on a jet ski all across the East River, the Hudson River, and it was like beautiful fresh water around Manhattan. I did this a few years ago on a jet ski. I did it in July, hottest month of the year, and it was a blast. It was so much fun. And, you know, at times you got too hot or you wanted to take a break, you'd shut off the jet ski and jump in. You'd dive in, and it was beautiful, cool, and refreshing. All right, Carlos, so do me a favor. This just happened. Robert F. Kennedy with Dr. Oz and two superstars. I like this. Two men at the top of their game, you know, delivering for the American people. And believe these guys could be doing anything they want right now. Anything. Dr. Oz is probably a billionaire when you add it all up. And the Kennedy family fortune, that's still a pretty big chunk of change. They got huge houses all over the place, but they want to do this. They want to help people. Robert F. Kennedy Jr. and they want people to be thin and healthy and at their best. All right, Carlos, please hit it.
Blood waste and abuse is $1 stolen from American patients and from the American taxpayer. And that's money that should be going to legitimate health care. President Trump directed us to end this corruption after President Biden and my predecessor, Xavier Becerra, allowed it to flourish. Our job is not just to catch the bad guys. Our job is to stop the fraud before it happens. Today, I have two major announcements. The first, CMS is pausing more than $1 billion in federal Medicaid payments to California and to Minnesota because of suspected fraud and non-compliance.
All right, that's great. That's great. I got used to his voice. I can't get used to a shaky microphone with an echo. Okay, that's the problem here. All right, everybody be quiet because Patrick from Indiana joins us, and he had some very creative ideas about the Constitution and Mamdani, which I was a little bit too dismissive of when I first heard them. But now I must say, sir, you're onto something before me. Welcome back. How are you?
Okay. First of all, international law is not American law. And that's what Mamdani and his staff incorporated into New York law on January 2nd. James Flippin on the 9 o'clock news in the morning said that Mamdani said, it's about time we incorporated international law. So what you're having in New York with suppression of the police, suppression of the Jews, suppression of ICE, it's all his version of international law. And President Trump knew that he endorsed international law before he came to the White House, because Rita Cosby has the clips, and she played them before he came to the White House. And President Trump condescended to Mamdani and said, if there's problems in New York, we'll work them out.
All right, now hold on a second, Patrick. All right, here I am being all nice, telling you that you have some ideas that I think are worthy of discussion. And now you're going, I appreciate you listening to the radio all over the place, all right? And that's great. But, you know, the meeting between Trump and Mamdani, I guess he missed Rita Cosby's show. You got to cut the president some slack on that. And liberals are always talking wrongly about the International Court, and even some conservatives. They hear international court. Ooh, sounds wonderful. Ooh, The Hague. Oh, international war crimes. We got to stop all those. But then, you and a few others know the fine print and know what that really means. A lot of people don't. And so, get to the part where you think Mamdani is deportable, because you haven't said anything yet.
The point where he's deportable, I just said, he endorsed international law.
No. This is a thing you can have a debate about. This is the thing that you can have. This is why we have constitutional lawyers. This is why we have courts. This is why, no, you can't just say, damn, bam, he's wrong. I mean, you can say it. And then if he does something actionable, right now it's just a bunch of words. If he dares try to put our Bibi in handcuffs, then you got a problem. So I want you to make this idea a little bit more practical, all right? I thought, a little bit more practical. But I want to know if he actually swore an oath to the Constitution. That's what I want to know. And I want to see the certificate of his, let's face it, pal. The Constitution means different things to different people. We have debates about what these clauses mean all the time. You know that, right? And then where do we sort them out? We sort them out in the Supreme Court. We sort them out in court. Very brilliant people can disagree on what that Constitution means. Do you accept that?
But constitutional law does not mean you can substitute something for constitutional law, which he's doing.
No, I mean now you're okay. Well, you can. Why don't you sue him? Why don't you? Wait, I'm serious, Patrick. You should sue him. I mean, it looks like you have some data points. And go ahead and sue him. All right. Good luck. Seriously. And keep us informed. You heard about all these woke museums in Washington under the previous, and not just Obama. I mean, these things, they've been on a leftward tilt, forever. The only one that's been unmolested is the Smithsonian Sea, Air, and Space Museum. And even if they do mess with that and woke stuff, I wouldn't even notice because I'd be too busy looking at the spaceships, touching the moon rock, and going bananas in the gift shop. I wouldn't notice if they had some sort of, there'd be no space program if it wasn't for Harriet Tubman or whatever the hell it is, some plaque that says that somewhere. All right. But in the other museums, it's a little bit more conspicuous. The Museum of American History is totally woke. The Museum of the African American Experience is totally woke and weird. And Congressman Brandon Gill, who kind of reminds me of Superman, right? Doesn't he? He's got this Clark Kent thing going. Sat down with one of these museum curators. He's a Republican from Texas. Happens to be the son-in-law of Dinesh D'Souza. Kind of cool. Listen to this. I'm told it's epic. I mean, they always are with Brandon. Shall we? Hit it, please.
Would you say that the goal of history is to be objective?
Thank you, sir, for the question. I think that there are many goals of history, and certainly as you collect, as we do, examine evidence, create scholarship.
Is objectivity one of the goals of history?
We strive to be objective and nonpartisan and not based on any ideology.
So it's one of the goals. Doesn't that seem a little bit concerning? It certainly does to me, because as part of this white supremacy document that your organization has promoted, objectivity is a core and defining aspect of white supremacy culture. Do you think that it's the goal of the Smithsonian Institution to promote white supremacy culture?
Sir, do you mind sharing with me which document?
It's white supremacy culture right here. This is part of the mass action toolkit that your organization has promoted for several years now under your leadership. Are you promoting a white supremacy culture at the Smithsonian?
Am I promoting a white?
Ma'am, is this a difficult question?
No, sir. I'm just thinking about the mass action toolkit. We didn't develop it. But back to your question, no, we're not promoting any ideology.
Does it concern you that your goal is objectivity? One of your goals is objectivity, and your mass action toolkit references objectivity as a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture?
It's not our toolkit.
It is your toolkit. You've been promoting it for quite some time.
We did not come up with a toolkit, sir.
But you've been promoting it.
It is used as a reference, I believe, probably in 2019, 2020.
Yes, under your leadership, it has been used as a reference. Is Mickey Mouse racist?
Mickey Mouse is not racist.
It's not racist. According to the Smithsonian Institution, one of your exhibits referenced Mickey Mouse as representing, quote, vestiges of longstanding traditions of blackface minstrelsy. Would you describe that as racist?
No, the historical trajectory of the origins of Mickey Mouse tie directly
so Mickey Mouse is rooted in racism. Is that your testimony?
No, sir, it's rooted in minstrelsy.
Minstrelsy, and you don't think that blackface minstrelsy is racist?
It had certain obvious racial overtones that have been well documented.
You think that that's problematic, that Mickey Mouse also has those racial overtones?
It's not for me to determine what's problematic. It's determined to me what's accurate.
Is that right?
Yes,
is it important to be polite?
Excuse me, sir?
Is it important to be polite?
Yes, sir.
It's also interesting because the same mass action toolkit that your organization has been promoting references politeness as a defining characteristic of white supremacy culture. Ma'am, are you a white supremacist?
No, sir.
You're not. Can you help me square why your organization says that being polite is part of being a white supremacist?
I'm not exactly familiar with that passage of the Mass Action Toolkit, which is not.
I can show you the
one that we
passage it's right
developed.
here.
I don't. Pardon me?
I said I just read you the passage from it.
And then your question was, sir?
We're going to move on. What is Latina power?
What is Latino power?
Latina power.
Latina power would be the forces derived from being a Latina.
Do you think that it's appropriate for the Smithsonian Institution to sell Latina power paraphernalia? Hats, mugs, other things that say Latina power?
I believe that the merchandise our store sells.
I'm asking you if it's appropriate.
Tries to reflect the richness of the communities.
So your testimony is that it is appropriate?
Those are your words, sir.
I'm asking you, is it appropriate to sell Latina power paraphernalia? It's a yes or no question.
I don't have control over what is sold.
I'm asking you if it's
stores.
appropriate. I didn't ask you if you have control over it. Is
I
it
understood
appropriate?
you, sir. Yeah.
Yes or no?
Again, we strive to represent all Americans, and including
Is it
in our
appropriate, yes or
merchandise.
no?
We strive to represent all Americans in our museums, including in our merchandise.
Is that right? My
Yes,
time's
sir.
up.
Oh, boy, but you will be back, Brandon Gill. Amazing. Latina power. Kind of sounds like somebody who works at HR, right? It sounds like a person. Latina power. I mean, oh gosh, could you imagine white power? You know what I mean? That's the problem. That's the problem, right? Too much the identity, too much what's on the outside. The inside is important. Well done, Brandon Gill. Smithsonian, ooh, ouch. You better clean that stuff up and get rid of your toolkit. Be right back.
Greg Kelly, entertaining and informative
on the Red Apple Podcast Network.
All right, we are back, and the telephone number is 800-848-9222, 800-848-9222. Let's go to, let's see here, Greg in Michigan. Ah, yes, Mr. Positivity. I watch Chris Cuomo on cable news. Why would you ever watch that guy? He's such a beefy, silly kind of guy. I don't care for his style. He's always like, making a big dramatic display whenever he discovers something that's so obvious that we figured out basically in kindergarten, and he gets attention and credit for doing that kind of thing. What's with you and Chris Cuomo?
Well, we go back. I think he's brilliant because he's philosophical.
Oh my God! You got to stop right now. You think that meathead is brilliant? You think that? I mean, oh gosh! All right, I'm gonna have to. So let's talk about some. Oh my goodness gracious! That you got to be kidding me! That man is stoned. That man is on weed all the time. I can see it. I can see it in his. You don't smoke that stuff, do you?
No, but I don't think he does either.
You pot. Yes, he does. I know he does. You potheads. Well, you're not a pothead, but the potheads very much stick together, and they know who each other are. All right. So make the non-Chris Cuomo point you want to make, please.
Okay. To bring closure in Iran, do you think ultimately, Greg, that we're going to have boots on the ground? Because I just feel that, it's getting to a point where I don't want it to, but, we've got to really get into the idiosyncrasies of the Iran regime. So I think arguably that would probably be the only way, how we got Osama bin Laden. We're going to have to do something to that, to that extent. What do you think?
Well, number one, hold on a second. Osama bin Laden, to that extent, wasn't much of an extent. We sent a couple of guys in helicopters, and then they came right out. They were there for about an hour and a half. So boots on the ground in Iran would be bigger than that. And I'm reluctant. I don't want to, I don't know. I mean, maybe I'm conditioned to think that boots on the ground. Oh, my gosh, boots on the ground. You can't have boots on the ground. No boots on the ground. I promise you, no boots on the ground. Oh, my God, they're thinking about putting boots on the ground. Boots on the ground. Hey, yikes, boots on the... Okay. We got boots on the ground in this country and a lot of other countries. We can't have it over there. Short answer is, I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to be like, there cannot be boots on the ground. That's escalation. I'm not going to say that. I don't have all the pieces. It's amazing to me. Some guys on the radio and elsewhere, they speak with such conviction. The more I know, the more I realize I don't know. There are guys in the Situation Room who make mistakes all the time. They also make great calls all the time. So I literally don't know. Here's what I do know, that anytime you apply combat power, be it from the air, from the sea, from the land, whatever, invariably there are going to be complications. There are, including Osama bin Laden. We crashed a helicopter. Could you imagine how they were feeling in the Situation Room when a helicopter went down? Right there in the courtyard. Boom! I mean, the temptation might have been to abort right there. It felt like Jimmy Carter all over again. So there are complications that will happen. Are we ready for those complications? What's the goal? What's the goal? Is the goal for regime? I don't know, man. I don't know. I don't give a damn who's in charge of Iran. Do you? Do you honestly care who's in charge of Iran right now? As long as they have no nuclear, I don't think anybody should care, practically speaking. You know what I mean there, Greg?
Yes, I agree with you. They're an evil empire, if you will, and I just feel that I wish Trump would have used a little bit more diplomacy, using our NATO people to help us.
Oh, my God. NATO, you ever see those eggheads? They're just trying to screw us every step of the way. They don't know. They couldn't do it. Sometimes you got to slap somebody around, No more talking. A little bit more force. Greg, I appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to The Greg Kelly Show. You can hear The Greg Kelly Show weekdays at 12:15 on 77 WABC. If you like the podcast, share it with your friends and listen anytime at WABCRadio.com and download the WABC Radio app. Hit that subscribe button on all major podcast platforms. Plus, follow WABC on social on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, and X. See you next time for a new episode so you never have to wonder,
what the heck is going on here?